Well, hey everybody, thanks for stopping by Sandy Bottom Homestead. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and it is around the first of the month, so being that it's November, we need to talk about what we're going to be planting in our garden in November, and yes, we're still planting in November. And just to give you a quick view of what's going on in the garden, things are actually growing, so we're pretty happy. The Brussels sprouts are doing good, the cabbages are coming along, the lettuces are starting to pop more and more, the radishes came up in this bed, the broccoli, well, let's not talk about the broccoli right now. It's a little bit of a sore spot for me. But even though it's getting close to basically winter and our growing season is, I would say, it's safe to say it's over. I mean, yeah, I'm out here in a tank top today, but we've got about 4 more days left of that. And where I am in zone 8A in North Carolina, it will cool off, but then it's gonna warm back up hopefully. And so we're gonna really be paying attention to our weather for this month and planting accordingly to the weather. Big thing I'm gonna plant, which should be to nobody's surprise, is we're gonna put right here on this row, we're gonna put a double row of garlic. And we don't wanna start off with a weed, right? So we definitely need to top off this bed still, which we're gonna do next week, but the double row of garlic should get us through the year. It doesn't take a whole lot of garlic, especially when you're growing nice sized cloves like we did this year. So what I did, I think it was last week, I took my soft net garlic, and I'm reusing garlic that I grew from the grocery store from, this will be my 3rd year growing it. And before anybody's comments, like it was sprayed with pesticides and growth inhibitors and all that. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It grew just fine. And the 2nd year, after what I saved from the 1st year, grew bigger. And so we're hoping we can just continue to replicate it. At this point, it would just be our fault if we don't replicate it. But we're gonna be planting that. And that's actually gonna come around the middle of the month. So, and it could even be December, depending on our weather. We're gonna let that garlic sit in the refrigerator and get a chill period, because it needs a chill period in order to start the bulbing process. And we may or may not get consistent chill temperatures here, and this will allow it to be a consistent chill temperature for at least 2 to 3 weeks of that designated period. And we did that last year and it worked out really good. So this is a method you can use if you're scared you don't get cold enough. Before I forget, I'm genuinely curious. Are you guys planning anything in November? Let us know in the comments below. And if you can, let us know what zone you're in, because other people might get ideas from it, and it would be a big help, because this time of year, I didn't know that I could keep planting some things as long as I can, and it's since I've learned that, it's really helped me and helped me space out the work that I need to do. And we are growing in this bed. I did come out last week and I did it on here. I put 2 rows of radishes and a row of bok choy. They're all coming along just fine, but we have an empty row here. And so I'm considering at this point to add in some onions on this row and then just continuously fill them out as it gets emptier and emptier in this bed. The way it looks now, and bok choy, this is my 2nd time this year growing it. I grew it in the spring, it did great. I'm growing it again, it's doing fine. But what I realized is it doesn't take long for it to grow, especially if you've, like I did transplant. So I started my seeds and then I put them in the ground. Definitely didn't take as long to produce. And I mean, these have been in the ground a week and they're really coming along. So I'm thinking maybe 2-3 weeks, maybe we should be able to start harvesting. And then in that row right there, we'd come back and we'd put our onions in. And then as the radishes get done, which they should be about 3 weeks from here. So it's been about 7 days since I put them. So about 3 weeks roughly, we should start to see some radishes that can be harvestable. And when they come out, which should be about the end of November, then we can start filling that in too. And that would finish out this bed, which is really my goal, is to have it all garlic and onions only. If you're new to growing onions, I've got a couple trays going here. This tray right here is just starting to get the size that you want in order to grow. I did trim them back, but the thickness is what we're looking for. and these are technically big enough to start. These are still a week or two off, so we could plant either one. So it's just a waiting game to see which one's gonna get ready first, but because we're doing them staggered like that, we shouldn't have a problem. We'll be able to get them right in the ground, and then just hopefully it won't get too cold. Now, we are having this El Nino, extreme El Nino this year, and it could be really cold or it could be really wet. It may or may not. We don't know exactly, but we do need to plan accordingly. And we're prepared if we need to, if we're gonna get like extreme cold, to cover this bed, because this is gonna be a big bed, because this will be planted now and we won't harvest out of it for June. So that means it's gonna have 7 months of stuff growing in it consistently. So we need to be able to kind of take care of that if needed. Bring you over here. So we have our radish pot here, which is all fine and dandy. And then we're gonna move our other pots over here, but we're gonna fill these up as well. And what I'm thinking about doing is sometime this month, we'll get these filled and we'll start, so there'll be other pots right here as well. We're gonna end up putting cilantro in there. Remember last year we had already had a freeze and it was continuously getting cold, and I just came out one day and I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just put some cilantro in the ground. And man, it grew. And not only did it grow, it became like a bush. It was so much. I was just giving it away by the fistful. I'd literally have people come to my house and just say, hey, take what you want. Like, I don't even care. You can take the whole plant, just cut it all back, because it just kept growing and growing. It was fabulous. So we're gonna do that again. And it's another thing that we can just put in the ground now, and then probably it'll grow really slow, but probably come around late January, well, before that, but really start harvesting a lot around mid to late January, because it takes time for it to go. And we didn't even protect it at all. We just kind of let it run, and it worked out great. Over here to the trellis, the panel, the arch, whatever, and you can see my black-eyed peas are finished. So we've got, I mean, I've got a couple on here that are just waiting to dry up. And once these get dry, we'll go ahead and pull these off, and we're gonna plant some peas underneath. So we'll end up putting peas in and letting them grow up. Keep trying to put peas on this side, and I just can't get anything to grow over here. I don't know what the story is. So I'm just gonna get back to the drawing board. I put some in here already. Let's see if we can find them at all. Is that a pea? No. So we'll definitely come out here and put more in and just see what we can get, but we're gonna keep planting peas as much as we can. Now, as far as peas go, we're gonna be planting snow peas. So I've got some seed that I saved a couple years ago. I've got a huge bag of them. We may plant those, but I also got some Oregon peas, snow peas, or pea pods. We'll put those in, and then we've got Wando peas to put in for our shelling peas. And I'm gonna keep looking for some more. Somebody actually gave a recommendation on the channel before for it, and I just need to find it when I put in my seed order and get them. But we've got all of these trellises here. We've got a trellis here, 2 here, and then however you wanna say the arch, 2 or 4 over there. And then on this bed over here, I'm strongly contemplating just putting another arch in, so we may have even another trellis to add to it, and we can fill them all up with peas. I don't even care, because what I've noticed is each year I plant peas and I keep them longer than I should because I need more. So maybe if I plant more peas, then I don't need to let them grow as long, because I'll get enough to do what I need to do with them. Is it preserving, freezing, consuming, whatever? And then we can kind of dwindle down and plant these things out. So that's the thought process behind it. I don't know if it's gonna work out that way, but that's what we want to happen. I just wanna take a second for everybody to look at these Brussels sprouts. After 3 or 4 years of trying to grow them, we look like we're well on our way to maybe getting something, but isn't that a beautiful sight? After failing for so many tries, so many years and growing seasons, just getting close is a big benefit. I'll tell you that much. Makes me feel a lot better. We move into the end of the month. There's not really going to be a lot being planted. At that point, we should be really starting to get some freezes, you know, I would say I can tell you that I've spent a lot of Thanksgivings eating outside. But then after that, like December, it can be like really one of the coldest months sometimes, but it can also be one of the warmest of the winter. But at that point, you should not be surprised that there's going to be a frost coming, a freeze or whatever. There's not really anything you can do about it at that point. You know, right now we're kind of dodging them day by day. But once that happens, the only thing I can do is, and I will do, is watch out and make sure there's not some crazy cold coming that I may need to cover something tender. But at that time, I shouldn't have a lot of tender stuff going on. You know, if I put those cilantro in, and we do get, like we had that Arctic blast last year, I could come out and throw a towel over a seedling or something, but that's really about all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. I'm not gonna put a heater in the greenhouse. I'm not gonna do, you know, hoops with heaters or lights under them or anything like that. All I'm gonna do is I'll cover stuff if I have to, but my goal is to never have to cover anything. And I'm blessed because the area that we live in allows us to cook, or not cook, to grow these things relatively unprotected for most of the winter. Now we will start to see at some point disease set in, and we'll get into that next month. But for right now, we're just gonna enjoy it while we can. Starting next month, we're gonna get all into our seed starting. I've got a whole schedule for that. And we'll be talking about that a lot because I start a lot of seeds, and my whole garden for 3 years now has been nothing but seeds that I have started myself. I've bought a couple transplants here and there if I've had like a total failure or something and I just really wanted to make sure I could produce. But for the most part, everything that I grow is started from seed, and we're gonna be talking about that throughout the winter. So be prepared for that, because December is, I start seeding in December. I start seeds in December and I do not stop until May.